I remember having friends that were in abusive relationships. I know the one thing I would always say was, that would never be me. And I was so wrong. Hey guys, it's Sylvia here from Mental Cloud 9. I'm a blogger, a mental health activist, and a full-time mother diagnosed with BPD, anxiety, and depression. I talk a lot about being a domestic abuse survivor. And I don't always necessarily talk about the abuse, being that it is very hurtful. It's a trauma that I've dealt with, but that left some very, very deep wounds and scars that followed me throughout my lifetime. I was young. I was 21 in my prime when I should have been out partying and enjoying my life like other young adults. But at that age, being that I was young, I also was very naive. Started getting kind of, in with the wrong crowd sometimes. And I ended up meeting someone. And at the time, he was a dealer that we knew. And I was at the time drinking, doing drugs, all types of different things, being irresponsible. And I met this person, and we were seeing each other every day. We were together for a few months when we decided to move in together. And of course, I brought my daughter with me. We moved into a small apartment downstairs where we rented a room. And upstairs we had another couple that lived upstairs that were also dealing different stuff. So it was just not a good place at the time. We get into this relationship, and as time goes on, my drug use becomes a little bit more heavier. And I start to realize that I can no longer care for my daughter because I'm not caring for myself. And so I made the choice to let my mom be the guardian of my daughter for a while so that I can get myself together and figure my life out. But unfortunately, that's not the way it worked out. Giving her to my mom only gave me more freedom to do what I wanted. And I continued my drug use, I continued my partying, and I continued this relationship. And as time went on, with drugs and alcohol, and mental disorders and different things that are all mixed in there, it becomes a deadly cocktail. So I can clearly remember the first incident that I ever dealt with when it came to real physical abuse. Me and this guy were together, and we were with a bunch of friends at our apartment. In the midst of all this, one of his friends came to show me a lighter that he had gotten that was really cool. And I said, hey, I think that's really nice. That's a cool looking lighter. And he said, hey, if you want, you can have this one. I have another one. So I was like, cool, thanks. Took the lighter, no big deal. And a few minutes later, my boyfriend at the time came and just kind of grabbed my arm and said, hey, I need to talk to you. So we headed into our room. Everybody was outside, kind of in a garage area, and we kind of had a downstairs room separated. And so we go into the room, and he closes the door and starts yelling at me about what am I doing, flirting with his friends. I shouldn't be talking to anybody else other than him. I'm being so disrespectful. And the next thing I knew, he turned around and punched me. And he punched me dead in the nose. Blood flew everywhere. I fell on the mattress. I was on the mattress. I was crying. I was hurting. And I just remember looking up, and he had this look in his face. I knew at that point that things were gonna get bad. After this happened, he was angry just standing there looking at me, and all of a sudden it's like almost like he snapped out of it. And he came over and just started apologizing. He even started crying and just saying that he was so sorry. that he never meant to do that, that it was just, he was angry and it was an impulsive reaction, that he would never do this again. He just loved me so much that he couldn't stand the thought of me leaving him. And so once again, dealing with physical abuse in childhood as discipline, and associating that with loving somebody, in my mind, okay, well, he must really, really love me if he's this worried, or if he's this fearful of losing me. And that's how I justified it for myself then. It was my way of just trying to make sense of it, I guess, is the best way I can put it. But I forgave him, and I thought, okay, maybe I need to work a little bit better on maybe not upsetting him so much. Maybe I was doing something wrong, trying to find fault in myself, to justify the situation. So after that, we went a long time with nothing, and it was a while. And the second incident was also over a disagreement we were having. I honestly can't even remember what we were arguing about. But he became so enraged. The argument ended with him strangling me with PlayStation cord wires, and trying to stab me with a dull knife. He used to threaten me and tell me that if I tried to leave, that he would bury me in the floorboards under the bed and things like that. And at that point, I felt like he really meant what he said. And at that point, I became very fearful. Although I had family who would have done anything to get me out of there, my own shame didn't allow me to. And the fact that I was addicted to drugs only added to the mix. And those things kept me bound. They kept me bound to this relationship, even through the pain. There were two incidents that stand out in my mind the most. And one of those is an incident where I had been on a drug binge all night and was tired and had finally passed out. And we had been arguing about something before that, and I fell asleep. And while I was sleeping, he decided to smoke a cigarette at the foot of the bed. And then he decided to drop the cigarette on the blankets and on the bed and light me on fire. As I'm sleeping, I just remember smelling a lot of smoke and feeling weird and opening my eyes and being tucked into my blankets, having a hard time to get out of them. And I'm watching the blankets burn up and the mattress is melting into the carpet. And he's just standing there looking at me. And I knew, I knew that I needed to do something at that point. I just didn't know what. And I was really afraid. And he just stood there blank. Just kind of, he thought it was funny. So there was that incident. And then when it comes to abuse or an abuser, one of their biggest tactics is the isolation. And I think that was something that slowly came in the relationship as we dated. He slowly started to pull me away from people, my family, just less and less of them. Friends, slowly, hey, it's me and you time, kind of, and slowly finding ways to push me away from those that were closest to me. And so the isolation of not having anyone around because I pushed everyone away because he didn't want me talking to people, I felt alone. And with my family, I felt so ashamed to even reach out to them because of the position I had put myself in. And I didn't want them to see me this way. I didn't want my daughter to see me this way. I was just in a really bad place in my life at that time. There was nights when I would just cry myself to sleep thinking, what have I done to myself? What am I doing? But fear and drugs and just insecurity, everything, those things can keep you so bound. It's hard to crawl out of that. But through it all, I had kept one friend. Her name was Chrissy, and I had met her through other friends, and we had become really close. And she was the one person that he somewhat still allowed me to communicate with for the most part. And she knew my situation, and she would always tell me, you need to get out of this, you need to find a way out. And I would tell her, yeah, I do. But me always thinking about, well, I need the drugs, and I want to live this life, and just the dumb things that I thought of at that age. Just mentally, I was just so immature. So I had this friend Chrissy, and I would call her from time to time, and she would just tell me, look, tell me how I can help you. And I told her, look, I need to get out of here. And I started slowly planning with her how I was gonna leave. And there was a final incident where I had my daughter over to visit, and she had come over to spend some time with me, because she would come during the week sometimes just to see me. It had become less and less because I was not looking well physically. I wasn't feeling well. I always had bruises and things like that I didn't want her to see. And we were arguing about something. Oh, she wanted to lay down and sleep. She was tired. And he kept saying, well, put her on the couch. I don't want her on my bed. And I said, look, she's going to lay on the bed, and that's it, And I knew I was going to piss him off, but I wasn't, at that point, I wasn't going to give in to him because my daughter was there. I laid her down on the bed, and I was in the room, laying next to her, just sitting there, and he stormed into the room and started yelling, what did I tell you? I told you I didn't want her on the bed. And walks over, he's yelling, and he wakes her up with his yelling. And he comes over to me as I'm sitting on the bed next to her, and kind of grabs me by the shoulders and starts yelling at me and kind of rocking me back and forth really hard. And in the middle of this conversation and rocking back and forth, he headbutted me full force. I can say it was one of the most excruciating things. It was, I felt like my face exploded. And I let out a scream that I scared myself. I scared my daughter. He ended up breaking up my bone above my eye. He broke it, and I iced it as much as I could. I had headaches for months following that. But the next 2 days after that incident, I planned getting out of there. Whenever I picked up my daughter or saw her, I wasn't allowed to talk to my parents. He would bring her to the door, drop her off, get her, and bring her inside. It was just a very controlling situation. I called my friend after this incident, and I told her, hey, I need to get out of here. I'm done. I need to go. And so we started planning. And for the next 2 days, we planned on how I was going to get out of there. She's going to have a friend of hers get a van and come pick me up. And whenever he left, and I was going to take what I could and just get out of there, and they were going to take me home. 2 days from then, he decided to go on a drug run and to go get some stuff. And I just kind of planned for when he was getting ready to leave. And I just said, hey, I'm going to take a nap. Go ahead, I'll wait till you get back. And he left. I never tried to leave, so I don't think he ever thought I would. Because he knew that not only was I afraid of him, but I was also addicted to drugs, and he knew that I needed it from him. So he thought that those were going to be the reasons that I stayed. My daughter definitely was what lit the fire under me. So I did finally, 2 days later, he left, my friend came, I took the opportunity to grab what I could, and I left. You know, I was in the van. I was shaking. I was scared. I was crying. I was just, I was relieved. I felt so many emotions at that moment. I was excited because I was going to go be with my daughter, see my family again. But I was scared because I wasn't sure what he was capable of. He would have told me that he would run into my parents' house and he would shoot me in there and stuff like that. And I believed him. So I was afraid of that. I was also afraid of going through withdrawals, being off the drugs. There was just so many different emotions that went through me that day. It was a it was a really, really I understood what it's like to feel a mix of emotions in a situation like that. But I went home, and I hadn't seen my parents in a long time, and they didn't know how bad I was when it came to the drugs and how bad the abuse was. When I showed up at my parents' house, I showed up with 2 black eyes. I had lost 100 pounds. I was bruised and beaten from head to toe. I was not anywhere close to who I was when I left. So, and that relationship lasted a year. I went through a year of that. I did go through a lot after that. After I left, he constantly called me, threatening me to come back, saying that he was going to kill himself and that he was going to come and kill me. My parents had reported me missing. They had done a missing persons report. So when I came home, they called the police and let them know I had come home. And when I was questioned, I was so afraid I still didn't tell the police anything. I didn't say anything to them. I only told them that I had gone away for a while to deal with stuff, and I had gotten into some fights while I was out there. And that was it. The night that I came home, I went through withdrawals. Really, really bad. Which my father stayed up with me the whole night while I went through with these withdrawals. My mom, and they were there for me through the situation. And they kept telling me, you need to tell somebody. You need to tell the police what's happened to you. You can't let him get away with this. And I ended up calling the police and making a report, and ended up talking to detectives, had me go in and do all this stuff, and eventually he was arrested. At first he was arrested on, 17 different charges of attempted murder. They found everything that coincided with the stories I had told them. They found blood on my blood on the mattress, the cords, everything was still in the room that I had told them about. All the holes in the carpet, the mattress that was burned, everything was there, and he was arrested. It was a situation that definitely changed my life. It taught me to see things in a whole new way. I look back to all the times I used to say that wouldn't be me. I wouldn't let someone do that to me. I truly believe in the saying that says never say never.